Welcome to the 4th annual Light Up a Life. My name is Camille Donnelly, and I am here to represent our hospice, palliative, and grief support services. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We gather together virtually to honor the memory of those we love. There may be a physical distance between each of us, but our hope is that the special connection we all feel tonight will uplift our spirits. This heartfelt event not only allows us to focus on and remember our loved ones, it also allows us to provide support for our hospice services to continue within our community. Our interdisciplinary team provides medical, emotional, and spiritual care for patients and their families with no additional financial burden for those who are unable to pay. Mary Washington Healthcare Hospice Services is grateful for the partnerships we have developed and maintain over the years. These important relationships help ensure that compassionate hospice care and grief support services for our community continue. I'd like to take a moment to thank this year's generous Light Up a Life sponsors. Our beacon sponsor is the Fredericksburg Amateur in honor of Julie Hurst. Illumination sponsor, Marie Frederick. Radiant sponsor, ProCare Hospice Care. Our incandescent sponsors, Life Care Medical Transport, Eric and Gidget Fletcher, Ron and Mary Jane Branscombe, Alan Edwards, Fred and Barbara Rankin, Donald G. Freeman, and Beasley Properties. And now we want to thank our lightning bug sponsors, Dawn and Christy Dotery, Maureen Perlette, Carol Highland, O'Connor G. Ashby, Michael Hewitt, Winston Williams, Debbie and Randy Lee, Kathy Embry, Terry Mosey, Mark Schneider, Richard Unser, William Shorter, Jan Sokol, Patricia B. Green, Meredith and John Beckett, Mary Kay and Jimmy Savage, Lynn McFadden, Harry Skinner, Barbara Samuel, Nancy S. Vasai, Eric Hart, Robert O'Neill, Bonnie Mason, Denise Herod, Tom and Kathy Hitt, Nancy Becker, Teresa Crawley, Catherine Wall, Earl B. Hart, Chris and Linda Heath Jr., Jerry and Vicky Silver, Tisha Ep Sisk, Craig and Janet Jennings, Wanda Walker, Joseph Wallor, Sandra L. Allen, Donna C. Belcher, Earl Green, Harvey Goldstein, Julia Snow, Tina Irvin, Mark Simpson, Laurel Hill Funeral Home and Memorial Park, Scott Sell, David and Teresa Congdon, Lynette Corbin. This event was started in honor of a beloved mother who passed away under hospice services. Reflecting on this and recounting how all those we have lost remain with us in spirit, I would encourage you, wherever you are tonight, to light a candle. Please join me if you are able. May this shared act of remembrance serve as a special illumination of the way we feel in our hearts for those we have lost.
Good evening. My name is Chaplain Martin. I am a board-certified chaplain for Mary Washington Hospice, and it is an honor to be here and to speak with you for just a bit. I would like to thank Camille Donnelly, the various volunteers, and Mary Washington staff for their tireless commitment to making this special event happen, even in the midst of a pandemic. Is exactly how I started this event last year. So, I've been reflecting hard on this one simple fact: how much it feels like we're not where we want to be. We're not where we want to be, both literally, physically, and I don't know about you mentally. Are you where you want to be represents the existential angst I feel of the constant push, of the sense of wanting to move on, and the ever-present tug of the past. Which, if we're about to read out loud the name of your loved one, I have a hunch that this is a feeling you're acutely familiar with. Autumn is one of the most ironic seasons, isn't it? Around this time of year, the trees begin to sway and Virginia becomes awash in a sea of golden fire. Yet this indescribable beauty that we see is literally a representation of dying. The push and pull. The past and present, the ebb and flow. The inescapable wintering of life on this planet. An echo of the verdant green of spring. They are an echo of what life has left behind. And there's something about this time of year where the echoes grow louder for me. And maybe for you too. Because when the trees wrap themselves in robes of auburn and ginger, scarlet and gold, it is a signal that they are coming. Sometimes whether I want them to or not. Memories. Stories. The echoes, names, faces, places. But that's what we do in hospice and in medicine. We hold the memory. We tell the story. We hold the sacred space between life and death, and we honor it and we keep it in order to allow people to tell their story. And then we listen. We listen with our hearts. And our hearts, your hearts, know a different way of listening. They know the sacred power of a story, the story. Because since the beginning of time, humanity has sat around the fire and told the story. And we rejoice in that telling, because in the telling, these feelings and thoughts, they dance to life. They become real. And in doing so, for one ephemeral moment, the love becomes real. The life becomes real. So let me just say that as we read the names tonight, I hope you remember a story. I hope maybe it's one that brings a smile to your face, and if it's not, I wish you some peace. But mostly I want to thank you. Thank you for telling the story. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And thank you for helping us to help someone else share their story. So, let the story be told.
In a moment, we're going to be reading names of those we will be honoring tonight. I want to thank you again for providing us this opportunity. Our team that's present tonight, as well as our entire hospice, palliative, and grief support services team, could not do what we do without the support that we feel. The work that we do at end of life can be scary. We're in a very intimate setting with patients and with those who care deeply about the patient, and it's very vulnerable. But I can tell you for myself and for the rest of our team that we do feel uplifted in our community, and tonight is a great example of that. So thank you again, and here are the names of those we're going to honor. Charlotte Abel, Johnny Allerkin, Joe Amoya, Rosamond Arthur, James Ashby III, Cynthia Ann Badett, Margaret Joan Baxter, Bill Bearden, Bridget Payne Beasley, Donald Beasley, Wallace W. Berry, Kerrigan Blackwell, Daryl Bobbitt, Gary Bobbitt, Judy Bowie, Bruce Branham, Cynthia Freeman Branscombe, Megan Branscombe, James A. Burnham, Catherine Burton, Victor Burton, Janet Bukowski, Walter Chitlow, David Conklin, Dennis Connors, John Connors, Marie Connors, Michael Cook, Ray Cook, Vicki Cook, Leatrice Corbin, Willard Corbin, Ruth Wilson Crawley, Doris Crawley, Henry B. Custis, Diana Diamico, Anna Irene Davenport, Larry Carson Davenport, John F. Davenport Sr., Regina Dippenbrook, Audrey DePrince, Germone Desgrossliers, Christine Dickerson, Marcella Dickinson, Lillian Diner Sweet, Lena Mae Dodd, Andrew Dodson Looney, Francis Doman, Herman Doman Sr., Stephanie Marie Downing, Mabel Owens Brown Driver, Austin Lena Dunn, Lisa Edwards, Thelma Edwards, Eileen Ehrlich, Aloha English, Robert Epps, Linda Farr, Daryl Farrell, Elsie Farrell, George Farrell, Joe Farrell, Petrona Ferrofino, Barbara Fish, Leonard Fish, Shirley Fleming, Leonard Fletcher, Phil Flynn, Susan Francis, Mary Frederick, Joseph Frederick Jr., Joseph Frederick Sr., Ellie Shepard Freeman, Margaret Pitts Freeman, Elizabeth Frost, Lincoln Frost Sr., Bill Gaines, Bill Gates, John Gill, Robert S. Gilbert, Sean Gilligan, Emily Elaine Gilman, Chris Goldsmith, Betty A. Goldstein, Beulah Graysick, Gary Graham, Chuck Green, Mary Bell Green, Alan Green II, Alan H. Green III, Alice Louise Green, Tony Hall, David Hammond, Kaylin Hart, Zona Hart, Samuel Hart, Frank M. Hartman, Pam Hathcock, Dorothy M. Hawthorne, Frank Hawthorne Sr., Margaret Heath, William Heath, Barbara Hewitt, Catherine Hitt, Edwin Hitt Jr., David Holsinger, Julie Hurst, Chris Hilton, and Harvey Hunziker.
Mary Virginia Jackson, Samuel H. Jackson, Charles W. Jennings, Nancy D. Jennings, Alice Gray Johnson, Angela Christine Johnson, Richard W. Johnston, Katie Jones, Linda Keener, Doris Kelly, Walter M. Kelly, Billy Kent, Joseph Butch Kenyon, Glenn Kimball, Matt King, George King Jr., Stanley John Cloda, Shirley A. Kolb, George Kuzma, Dawn Langfit, Elizabeth Lavin, Thomas Lavin, Cecil Lemons, Ora Mae Lemons, Robert Leong, Audrey P. Lewis, Donna Ray Mason, Peggy Mason, Ralph Mason, Lawrence B. Mason Jr., Lowell Z. Matthews, James R. McCann Jr., Vicki Denise McCarthy, Melissa McClellan, Charles A. McCormick, John Robert McMullen, Clinton Shane Morgan. Loretta Lee Morgan. John W. Morley II. Stella Rogers Mullen. Joan Murphy. John Murphy. Cheryl Layton Nichols. Jane Nordbeck. Mr. and Mrs. Robert Noble. Constance Connie Suzanne O'Connell. Sandra Smith O'Connor. Peter L. O'Malley. Mary O'Neill. Robert O'Neill. Macy Grace Opperman. Roger T. Ostrom. Daniel James Franklin Pack. Jessica Maria Padilla. Hans Paloro. Mary Paloro. Demetrius Dominic Pappas. William F. Parker. Catherine Pasteur. Ivan L. Payne. John Donald Payne. Nelda L. Payne. Robert D. Payne. Roger L. Payne. Kathy Perusi. Chris Payton. Kim Payton. Teresa Payton. Doris Farr. Florence Pinkwas Berkowitz. Alvin L. Pitts Sr. Doris Powell. Fred Powell. Jack Pretz. Grace Price. Jerry Price. Jerry Perks. Dorothy B. Rankin. Fred M. Rankin Jr. The Reverend Bill Regal. Sophia Victoria Rivas. Miss Marie Roberson. Jerry Rosser. Barbara Rowan. Ken Rumbarger. Joan Ryan. Pearl Sacre. Alexander Salustri. Walter J. Samuel Jr. Chelsea Santulli. Marie R. Savage. The Honorable Joseph L. Savage. Wyatt Scharrer. Elizabeth A. Schneider. Mariana Inky C.A. Scott Sukalo. Howard Sell. Marilyn Sell. Eileen Senna. Dion Shade. Martha Shelton. Gus Shizas. Onetta Lee Shorter. Mary Shover. Catherine Morgan Sigmund. Marion Silver. Sylvester Silver. Roy Simpson. Emmanuel Ada Simpson Jr. Alice Skinker. Ellen Skinker. Cody Slayton. Liam Slayton. Barbara Smith, Jerry P. Smith, Michael Lee Smith, Richard Snow, William M. Sokol, Christina Sokolwiski, Errol Spangler, Joseph Stoesitz Jr., Helen Stoesitz, Mary Ann Strasberg, Roger Strasberg, Jean Strickland, Jean H. Strickland, Gladys Strickler, Al Stewart, Florence J. Styka, Frank G. Styka, Buster Sullivan, Judy Searles, Frank Sweet, Barbara Jane Taylor, Robert Wilson Taylor, David Shea Teeple Jr., Miss Belinda Tierney, Eleanor Nanita Townsend, Arle Tavi Townsend Jr., Jeanette Traylor, Julie Tubbs, Carolyn Lynn Unser, Thomas Vital, Martin Rousseau Walker, Paul Ray Walker III, Andrew B. Walker Sr., Jean Ann Wall, Miss Allen Wall, Barbara M. Waller, Duncan Walters, Linda Wandrick, Raymond F. Wardinsky, William V. White, Hazel Wilkinson, Reva A. Williams, Edith C. Withers Sr., William C. Withers Sr., Stephanie Lynn Walcott, David Yonker, H. Wayne Young, Myrna Zumwalt, Regina Zumwalt. For everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. In this season we ask for strength, grace, and understanding to deal with what may at times seem overwhelming, so that we may face new seasons and tell new stories, forever changed by the understanding that the story may change, but it will continue. Amen.